ciphers. In the final chapter of my lesson, they were hidden in plain sight. Over the next few minutes, I will challenge everything you think you know about the golf swing. By the time this series is over, you will understand why Hogan was so dominant in his day. Followers will dominate starting now. Come with me on this quest as we uncover one of the great mysteries of the 20th century.
Clutch your sides with your elbows and visualize your elbows being attached to your body and your arms instead of at your shoulders. And just start moving your body from right to left, around in a circle.
In the illustration of Ben Hogan's 9-3 drill, we see something distinctly different. The first image, the starting point of Ben Hogan's instruction, is divided down the middle of the body with the absence of shading.
Hold on a second. I thought you said the ciphers were in the 5th chapter.
The ciphers are in the 5th chapter. As you said, this is not a part of the 5th chapter. It's a good place to start. We're going to get into the ciphers right now, starting with the connection of the lead hand to the body. The lead hand has its relationship with the belt buckle, and it's coming through. One of the ciphers in the 5th chapter, the summary chapter, a circle which is not centered around the hands. That circle is in fact centered around the center of the golf swing. Hogan went on to describe exactly how that relationship exists. I know you might be saying,
Prove it.
Yes. I see that you are in fact saying
Prove it.
that there's no proof the circle is between the hands and the body. Those two new pieces of information, that black dot and that arrow, must mean something. Let us visit the one undeniable place that a black dot of that size exists in the golf swing. Hogan's page on the grip, where the artist blackened in one grip, but not the other. Whenever something seems out of place, isn't it pertinent to wonder why? The left arm is, as the dot shows, in the position relative to the shoulders. The left arm, the dot would be here, and that dot itself we find in the grip. What we see is the left hand holding the club aloft, and there, boom, the black dot. Well, the one that is blackened in is connected to Hogan's left arm. And we're about to see how that ties into Mr. Hogan's secret. Every good golfer has anti-slice muscle. That muscle enables the lead arm to execute the motion that Hogan described in 5 lessons on page 102, wherein the lead arm, here I'll demonstrate for a right-handed player, makes this motion here. Lead arm is like this. Passing through shadow is like this. So if we look at it like this, we see the lead arm go there, roll over. Somebody who's struggling with a slice only has to do one thing between shots to warm up the muscle that'll prevent a slice on the next shot. That is simply in your golf cart, walking down the fairway, just make this motion, engage this muscle, the back of your lead arm. So we see it here, we see the grail, we initiate our backswing, we pick the grail back up, and then we deliver the club to the back of the ball. Our arm parallels the grail and delivers its force along with the release side of the body down to the back of the ball on this angle here.
Why wouldn't you want Sir Nick? Ken Caney and Martin Chutton sharing your stuff. Those guys are epic.
In a word, attribution. We only see instructors out there willing to give credit, permitted the right to describe this angle. First moving his hips in the downswing to accommodate that release because he fought a hook, the lead was already strong, he was already rolling the club face through plenty fast in connection with his body, and then what he needed was he needed to add more power and more precise application from the release side of his body. Once you've got the lead down, you'll be hitting pulls, you'll be hitting hooks, and you'll feel like, what do I do? Do I slow down? Do I become more timid and finesse-like with the ball so that I don't hook it? Well, let's not do that. Instead, let's apply more power. You apply more power by getting a relationship with this object here. So, picking it to the back, seeing it, getting on it, and then delivering to the back of the ball.
At the top of the swing, you move the lower part of your body, not your shoulders, the lower part of your body, letting your arms and hands follow, bringing you into position to hit. But this is the first movement there. Then you release at the bottom. Most people do it entirely opposite. They rotate their shoulders first instead of their lower body. As a result, they come across the ball and hit the outside of the ball instead of the back of it.
One of the things you'll notice when you get the release down is that whereas the lead motion has the club coming up rather quickly in the through swing, the stronger you get with the release, the more likely you are to have that gorgeous Hogan through swing that has the club going in line with the release on it. Let's hit one here with an abbreviated follow through, and we'll take a look at
what that's like. I'm gonna hit a knockdown shot. So this knockdown shot is just turning of the shoulders and hips in the backswing. I know my backswing is longer than normal. I don't know what to say. And then I'm gonna do an abbreviated through swing. My personal feeling is that the knockdown shot is the quintessential root of every good golf swing, because the simplest aspects of the swing are distilled in the knockdown. How did Hogan do it by feel? Visually, I say, okay, I'm here now. I just need to reveal. There we are. I can see it, and I need to keep it revealed. And there we are. I can still see it. So I know I've released. Elbows are connected to his sides. We see from the images in 5 lessons that he really valued that connection. This was a normal thing for Hogan. Every day when we go to practice, he would start out making these swings. He would warm up with that feeling of connecting his release elbow, his right elbow, into his right hip, just like you do in the waggle. From the top, if you're thinking from the top, I need to touch my elbow to my hip. Meanwhile, your hips are going to be chasing away from your elbow. Your elbow is going to be going, nope, I'm going to get you. I'm going to catch you, side. I'm going to touch you. That's the kind of feeling that I hope those of you out there watching will get from watching these, from learning these things, from reading 5 lessons, from applying this knowledge of what 5 lessons application truly is. We'll get to find out together how good this game can be. He had the flat swing. He had the really straight leg before impact. Yeah, sure, that's what Hogan was able to do with his physique. But let's be realistic. What can we do with our physique, right? With what we have to work with. I've also worn this really big green watch today because I wanted us to have a visual indicator of what that lead arm is doing for the golf swing. See if it's doing what it should be. Right now, I am having zero difficulty squaring the club face. In fact, if anything, I'm hitting them a little bit right of what I was when I first practiced this. Golf is a game of life. We get to play it all our lives long, and we should approach the golf swing as something that we want to continually improve upon. Helical improvement, that is an upward spiral that steadily grows larger because the person on the upward spiral continues to learn and grow. That was a hook. I might have a grip that's too strong. Let's take a look right now, right here. Let's make this change, okay? Because I'm hitting a draw. So let's go with the much weaker Hogan grip in my lead hand, okay? And we'll continue with everything else. We're just gonna change to the weaker Hogan style grip, not the 3-knuckle grip that so many golfers use and so many people advocate. Woohoo! Yeah, that's the first one I've hit online. I needed to switch to the weaker Hogan grip because there's so much action at the bottom that a 3-knuckle grip is just too strong. I'm 46 and a half years old, and right now the challenge is, by the age of 50, will I be able to shoot the kind of scores that make it possible for a golfer to tour around playing this game that he loves. Oh, not with shots like that. Not with shots like that. Oh, this year of practice and play has been fantastic. I'm reminded of Alan Doyle, the player who turned pro at the age of 48. His daughters were in college and he needed a way to pay for their tuition and their expenses. So he went from being a driving range pro to the PGA Tour, and then a couple years later, he was out of the Champions Tour. All right. There's a reason that Hogan gripped the club as weak as he did. And that reason is simple. A lot of action coming down into the ball. When you get your elbow down in like this, right? You're making a motion that's like, yeah, it feels like this. If you were to take and throw something, take that, right? And then you put it to your side. Booyah. These shots are a great place to be closing out 2024. It's an unseasonably warm October in the state of Montana. Any day now, we're going to expect a winter squall and sub-zero temperatures. In Hogan's lessons on playing, there are 3 different states of the backswing depicted in the illustrations. As you see here, they are first, about a third of the way back, secondly, back to approximately the 9-3 position, and then at the top of the backswing. It's generally assumed that these are just 3 arbitrary spots in the backswing. However, when you look at the hip turn and the shoulder turn, join our biceps with our chest as instructed, and then if we turn either just our hips or just our shoulders, just your hips, which is a bit of a peculiar backswing move, but illustrates the very same principle. just our shoulders, we go back to that same position that's illustrated in the lesson on plane. Now if we turn both our hips and shoulders, we come back to here, which is the position shown second. When we look at that down the line, we have our shoulders. Shoulders take the club back to 1/3 of the swing. We have our hips, same story, approximately 1/3 of the backswing. And then the combined hips and shoulders take it back to here. You'll note, as you look at the down the line view, that those two positions are perfectly on plane. The assumption that most golfers make, they should take the club back with their hands and arms. Watch what happens when you take the club back with your hands and arms. A, it goes back to almost a full swing. B, it breaks the plane. Hogan was adamantly opposed to lifting the club up like this and breaking the plane. How was that plane established? Quite simply by turning the hips and shoulders, and then when you keep the momentum going and lift your arms, from there you are on plane and you've made a full shoulder and hip turn.
Wait, I'm pretty sure there were 5 positions in that one image. The one with the ovals.
I have to admit, for a second there I thought you had me. Let's take a bit closer look at those pages. 5 positions. The first one we omit. That's address. The second, fourth, and fifth, though, those do coincide with the 3 positions from the plane. The second position is the shoulders and how far back the club goes. The fourth is the shoulders and hips. And the fifth is when you raise your arms up to make a continuation. The third, though, the third's peculiar. It's not in line, and when we look at the caption, we see that it says that those 2 things, the waggle and that third position, are somehow tied together. We're going to take a look at one of Ben Hogan's contemporaries, Sam Snead, and how his swing compared to Hogan's, particularly prior to 1946, during Hogan's power golf era. At that time, Hogan fought a hook and had difficulty placing well in major championships. Prior to 1946, Ben Hogan's release somewhat resembled Snead's. Post-1946, he made a drastic change which enabled him to not fight shutting the club face down. We can see it all very clearly when we compare the two. He described these differences in 5 lessons, and we can see them in videos of his pre-1946 swing where he chases the ball down the line, and his post-1946 swing where he allows the momentum of his turn and a revolutionized release to carry the swing around to finish. All of this, of course, is in 5 lessons, and we'll be getting into that by the end of this video as well as in future installments. Result of something called angular momentum.
Because we can't on Earth give enough speed to these little spacecrafts, we need the big planets around us to help us a little. Here we have Saturn, and if we have a little spacecraft and we make it fly by close, then what actually happens is it will, due to the gravitational attraction of Saturn, acquire a kick in velocity, and that is a gravitational slingshot. And we make it fly by close, then what actually happens is it will, due to the gravitational attraction of Saturn, acquire a kick in velocity, and that is a gravitational slingshot.
If we look at Snead's practice swing, what we see is a moment in the downswing where he's attempting to determine if the ball is going to go straight. Pretty much everybody who's ever played golf has made this kind of motion, and those with talent can do so at the top level. Hogan, on the other hand, in his practice swing, doesn't appear to care. He doesn't have to, truthfully. He just unfurls his swing. That's the effect of that gravitational slingshot. You will not have to check the club face. All right. I think thanks are in order, Rory. Last week, when I was talking about playing,
You're welcome.
and you pointed out that there was a position in the backswing I was missing, you made me realize that I hadn't connected the waggle to the backswing. I had always thought that the waggle was just about bringing your lead wrist ahead of the ball at the simulated impact position. The waggle also instructs us on how to get our lead wrist into the correct position in the backswing. The motion I made is an exaggeration of Hogan's instructions. Let's take a look at Snead Waggle, and then we'll look at Hogan Waggle, and we'll note how Snead is brusque back squaring the club, whereas Hogan lets his club come in at a more relaxed revolution.
You're describing a move that will flatten the wrist. Hogan said his secret was a cupping of the left wrist at the top of the backswing.
You're right. This kind of waggle motion, planing your lead wrist, it does cause you to flatten your wrist in the backswing. And yes, Hogan did say in that Life magazine article that his secret was cupping the wrist at the top of the backswing. However, there's one cipher left in the 5th chapter, and that cipher shows us exactly why Hogan cupped his wrist at the top of the backswing. We know that golfers aren't using Hogan's methodologies because we don't see anybody waggle like this. The lead hand motion rolls past the line. We see that line here in physical form, in something we'll call the Holy Grail. Hogan had good body rotation. We see it when we look at his golf swing. We look at how he came through and he got his lead leg so straight before him. One of the first things Hogan figured out would had to have been the connection of the lead hand to the body. We can see that in his Power Golf era swing videos, when in the backswing his left arm would stay connected to his body, creating that flat plane that he's known for. That characteristic of his is the result of having a short torso, long legs, and long arms. We see here how he put that information together for us in the illustrations in 5 lessons. The act of swinging with just your lead hand involves rolling that hand over as it passes the line the club creates at address. What wasn't happening prior to 1946, at the top of his backswing to fire the release hand through impact. This new directive is what we call Hogan's angle. Well to the inside, and then back. His arm on that same line that we see from the foot to the ball. It would be misleading to think that the club head is what is intended to travel on that line. Hogan deliberately omitted the club head from the book 5 Lessons. We see here how the waggle was a precursor to the right hand motion that Hogan advocated. As indicated by the spin on the ball in the two-handed pass illustration.
You swing, and then at this point, you attempt to reveal the triangle through your arms, keep it revealed, and pass your arms beyond it while simultaneously turning your hips.
Get in position by clearing the way. Make a conscious effort to see the grail as long as possible. Turn your hips like this, not like this, by getting your lead hand involved and pulling your weight. Hogan knew that a good golf swing took symmetry, coordination of both halves of the body. And of course, there are always those times you just have to unload on your driver.
I think I might call that video, guys. Whew. Muscles, building muscles, yo, building muscles. But holy cow, my hamstring right here, getting my hips by, my hamstring said, yep, that's stretched. I've hit a few shots, and here's what I'm thinking. They're all spraying left. One I hit well. I just played yesterday, so you get in the mindset that you're going to hit the ball on target every time, which is what I feel like I'm doing now. But clearly, if I stand at this and try that, it doesn't work. So something's gone awry overnight. I'm not able to produce the results that I thought I could produce. And standing at this, I'm realizing that I have to go back to the basics. Get back on angle, okay? So I'm leaving it out because I'm preoccupied with getting it over there. What I have to do then is I have to impart an action which is back here, which keeps me with the ball, not out ahead of it. And that means that I'm going to stand in the ball. I'm going to look at the turf just ahead of the hosel. And then I'm going to deliver a strike which extends from that spot at the hosel at an angle into the center of the ball. If we looked at Hogan's approach, he would always set up with the ball off the tiller club. That way, when he looked at his club, looked at the sweet spot, he would then extend from that sweet spot to the ball. And that is how he continually reminded himself to deliver the strike that was on angle. Subscribe now as we delve deeper than anybody ever has into Ben Hogan's masterful 5 lessons, the modern fundamentals of golf.